Okay, thank you everyone. And it's such a pleasure for me to be in Turkey and having this presentation. And first of all, I welcome you all. I understand it's Friday evening. So, and thank you, Dr. Oğuzhan, for this amazing opportunity for me to come from Canada and join this program, this amazing program on social work symposium. I wrote a line with me to begin with. I'm trying, it's in Turkish. Biz Pakistan ile Türkiye çok seviyoruz. I don't know if I said something. We love Turkey. We love people of Turkey. You live in our heart. So it's such a pleasure to be here. The plan is that simple. I had my amazing two scholars here. They will be presenting. And I have two presentations here in this panel. So what I will do is that I won't bother you with my two presentations. I will make it one and just kind of merge together. It's similar topics. So I will just take about 5 minutes kinda on my first presentation and then a few more minutes for my second presentation. By the way, I am Aamir JAMAL, and I am Associate Professor at the Faculty of Social Work, University of Calgary, Canada. It was a long trip, but I love being here in Turkey. So I will begin quickly with first presentation, and then we'll merge my last presentation together. And we have planned that after me, then we will have Dr. Nadia, and she will present about her talk, and then after that, we have Eski, yeah, and then she will present, and then in the end, when we all are done, then we will open it up for question and answers. Sounds okay?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So I go there. So you want to bring up the... Okay. So you want to... Full slide is not coming? Full slide is coming? It's full slide? Okay. Okay, good. I can use this forward. Okay. Okay. So my presentations, basically these are two papers, right? And both papers focused on the Muslim youth. Yeah, this is better now. Thank you. Okay. So both are on the Canadian Muslim youth identity construction. Right? Being a Canadian, being a Muslim, being a Turkish, a Pakistani, from Turkey, from Pakistani, from Arab countries, what it means, how all these multiple identities are working together and negotiating with this the Muslim, young Muslim men and women, and how a new identity is forming through these negotiations. So the first presentation, first thing which we did, my research team and myself, what we did is we tried to do a scoping review. Some of you may be aware about it. So through scoping review, we wanted to find out what's existing literature, what's there already that we have that we can build on. So we did a scoping review about Canadian Muslim youth identity. So what's in the literature, right? So we began with that. So we wrote an article And last week that article is published. So I will just share with you, briefly go through with that article, with like 5 minutes. Right? Can you take me to the PDF, please? Yeah, and can you come down? Yeah. Yeah, it's not as visible.
You can control this PDF.
Oh yeah? I can control it by coming down? Okay. Okay. So, yeah, let's go to, so we said what it means, yeah, thank you. What it means to be a Muslim youth in Canada, a scoping review. So we did the scoping review, and I don't want to take to those methods on there. I just want to go to quickly that what basically we find out. So with such articles, you know, the scoping review have its own typical, very concrete, systemic methodology. So we did all that. And can you come down now? Yeah. Oh, you say I can control it, right? So I can, let me see if I, oh yeah, I can do it. Yeah. So, I think you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
You're okay, okay, because you don't want to stay in. So, we find out, we did some keywords. You can, I don't know if you are able to see some of those, but then some of these articles, and then we did some, there is in scoping review, as you know, there is inclusion-exclusion criteria, so we use those inclusion-exclusion criteria. We only interested in English language, journals and all that, and in Canada, not globally, so we excluded that. And then we find out that these are the, some of the themes that emerged. So one is, can you make it a little bigger or no? Religiosity, you see up there? So one theme came that religion itself was a key, because it was about Muslim youth, right, and their identities. It was a key thing, kind of umbrella thing on the scoping review. So they were talking about Islam and Muslims and all that. Yes, thank you. And then you move, just quickly go down, another one. Racism and discrimination. So incidents of unjust treatment such as wrongful arrest, targeted and all those kind of stuff were also in different articles about based on Islam, those racism issues were there. And can we go now down a little bit? Just want to go through with it. And then I can share the article with you. Anyone interested, I can share the PDF with you. So then they can take it from there. And then we came to the other, parental influence was also another significant piece, because parents are giving them a different kind of approach about Islam and their identity, and in school and colleges, they are getting different messages. So those struggles were there, those confusing struggles were there, those different aspects and values. Parents are giving them one kind of values, and in the environment they are receiving different kinds of values. So those struggles were there, and it is very clear in the literature. Can you come down? So a significant dimension of parental involvement and influence among Muslim parents were there. Muslim parents were reported to show resistance to some educational policies like sex education. So sex education was, parents would say, no, my kid won't go to sex education. School is saying, no, they have to, because, no, but then you need to sign a form to just say no. So those kind of things were there. They were not sending their children to sex education classes, but they themselves were not prepared to give them sex education. So that became a major issue. Then citizenship and belonging, being a Canadian, as I mentioned earlier, Canadian, Muslim, from Turkey and Pakistan, and so all those sense of belonging with all those identities within Canadian framework become an issue for them. Okay, and there is the last one, I think. Is there the last one? Yeah, gender was another piece, right? That in gender, a woman piece. From women wearing hijab, Okay. So, women wearing hijab, on women it was a pressure to be representing Islam and Muslims. Right? So that was a pressure kind of on women, and they are wearing hijab. When they go out, they are kind of a living example of Islam because of hijab. But on the other side, the society expects women to be more liberal, to be more kind of adopting the existing culture and norms of society. So those struggles for women were already there, right? Women also at the same point, through hijab, women is showing that I am free in this country to wear whatever I want to wear in Canada, right? But at the same time, another concept and context into it is that she is also trying to prove to the society that this hijab is not a symbol of oppression. It's not imposed on me by Muslim man. It's my choice. So she's at the same time positioning about it and struggling about it and proving this, that this is by choice. It's not imposed. It's not oppression. So this is what women, Muslim women, this conversation is and discussion is around that. So these were some of the themes that emerged from the literature. I will start, we can go back to the slides now. So now, building on these themes, basically, about identity construction, we found a gap in the literature in Canadian Muslim youth identity construction. And then we tried to fill that gap through the research. So we got funding, funding, Canadian Social Sciences and Humanities Council funding for that, a 3-year research project. We just are completing this project this year. It's almost in the final phase, rather final phase. So that is, we know that the global generation, but living in a new, complex and uncertain existence. Youth is critical for Muslims. In Muslim countries, average age in many Muslim countries is around 60%. Yeah? So that's basically a main. It's like for youth, Muslim youth is power. It's really amazing if it is used for the positive purpose. If it's properly taken care of by using strategies for positive youth development. So, but they are living in multiple worlds, right? They are growing in suspicion, in uncertainties, wars, conflicts, throughout, wherever a Muslim youth is living. If it's a Muslim country or a non-Muslim country, these wars, conflicts, suspicion, uncertainties has an impact on them in many ways. So, who am I? That was a big question for a Muslim youth. And identity roots and pathways, being and becoming. Who am I right now? And what I am becoming. So identity is not static. Identity is a journey. And identity is not just one identity. Identity could be multiple identities based on different contexts. Identity will change, right? In every country we go, my daughter and my family, we will say we are from Canada. That was our identity. When we go to US, we are from Canada. When we go to UK, we say we are from Canada. Interestingly, last July, my family and I came to Turkey and we say we are from Pakistan. Because we found it that here when we say we are from Pakistan, there is love and there are smiles. So why not to say that? Why not? So our identity, like my daughter's identity changed.
people will be warmer
Warmer, yeah?
than Canadians.
Yeah. So then, and we immediately realized that. And so my daughter, she's 13 years old, and she says, Papa, in Turkey, I feel proud to be Pakistani. So her identity was, that's why I'm saying, it was an example that how identities are multiple, how they change, they are fluid, they are not static. So it's not a static phenomenon. So the questions we had were that understand the factors that contribute to and hinder the development of a meaningful and stable Muslim youth identity in an era of global conflicts and collective surveillance and suspicion. Second question, explore the construction of identity amongst Canadian Muslim youth, examine multiple theoretical understanding of how identities are negotiated and transformed within a larger and conflicting or contested religio, political and cultural context. Right? So we wanted to know about the journey, and we wanted to know about the context, and we wanted to know those negotiations of those multiple identities. So those were basically questions. And the third one was, what are the ways, means, strategies, tools, policies, practices for positive youth development, Canadian Muslim youth. So, our method, I'll be very quick on it because nobody likes talking about Muslim method, right? So, method is the narrative environment. So, basically, phase one was the Canadian Muslim, you wanted to talk to Canadian Muslim youth. So I did introduce, a lot of interviews across Canada, in Toronto, Calgary, Vancouver, and different part of the country. And in those interviews, basically one-to-one interviews, I wanted to know about their stories and their journeys, and very interesting stories. I learned a lot from that. And then in phase two, what we did is basically we said, okay, we learned from you, and now individual interviews, then we went to focus groups. So then we had youth coming together, and I was part of those focus groups, and we had a conversation on those questions. Who am I? What are my identities? What is my ethnicity there? My country of origin there? What is my religion there? Like all those different questions about it, right? And what is the future? Where I'm seeing myself in the future. And the final phase, which I just said to you that we are almost finalizing it, we did analyze these data. And then we, right now, we are presenting this data to Canadian Muslim community leaders, Islamic scholars, and other community leaders. So we are presenting, this is what your youth are talking about. What you have for them? What are your recommendations? What are your solutions to their challenges? So this is the final step which is almost completing in the completion stage. So let me go a little bit quickly here. One is what type of identities came out. One is religious identity. Who is a good Muslim? Definition of a good Muslim. That was a major piece. There were multiple and different definitions. So religious identity is easier to maintain than to continue upholding their national identity. So we found that Canadian Muslim youth are more inclined to and interested in maintaining and keeping their religious identity than their national or ethnic identity. Like for example, they are less interested in being Pakistani than being a Muslim. Because there were some reasons for that. Because Muslimness is because their challenges are due to being a Muslim, and basically mainly. So this Muslimness is giving them kind of a framework to respond to those challenges. So for them, it was easier to maintain being a Muslim than being in Pakistan or any other country. The journey is one of becoming more religiously grounded and nationally rootless. That was the key piece there. It was emerging in our study. So in the religious identity, we found that it was a different kind of religious identity. Their Islam was a different Islam, not the one their parents practicing in their home countries. They say in our Islam, I remember they were saying that they are more rational. They ask questions. They say in our Islam there is Y, W-H-Y. And in my parents' Islam there is no Y. And I can understand that. In Pakistan my dad would say, that's it. And I would say, yes, that's it. Right? You can't say no. So here they can ask questions. And they try to find answer to those questions. So I found here, it's an important piece that Muslim scholars need to pay attention to if they want to keep their youth, is that an intellectual challenge, huge intellectual challenge, that there are many questions that requires responses into their context, their Western context. So they need rational responses. I have lots of stories and questions, but we don't have time here. I'm just going through it. Spirituality. So they were saying that we are unlearning and relearning Islam in Canada from Western Islamic scholarship, not from Pakistani or from any other countries, Islamic scholars. Because those scholarship doesn't relate to me, this relates to me. And spirituality of Islam was bringing them closer. That's what I find out. That when I would ask from them, this was, why you are Muslim? You go to gym, you exercise, great. You go to school, it's really clearly showing that, okay, this is for a purpose, and you are getting that purpose. But why you go to mosque? So I find out that their rationale and their connection to Islam is not political, or is not any social even to some extent. It's more spiritual. In their mental health issues and in their many other issues, like stresses of life and all those kind of things, they found refuge and peace through spiritually practicing Islam. That was one thing. And I have lots of stories. If you want to know, so you can stay here for the whole night. So different religious journeys with their parents, and there were ups and downs. And I just mentioned something. I'll go faster in my slide. So ups and downs and why of Islam. So look at this quote. I didn't really follow Islam back home then, what I do here. I think I learned Islam a lot and my culture a lot in Canada than back home. But what kind of Islam, as I mentioned earlier, right? Okay, I will just be fast here, okay? So I don't want to take too much of time. Doesn't matter wherever I go, I want to be a Muslim and I am proud to be a Muslim. So he's not talking about any other ethnic identity. He's more into this Islamic identity. It's giving me a lens. Okay. Second piece was global conflicts. It had an impact about us and them, labeling them as suspect. So they were having this deep concern that terrorism and these conflicts basically has impacted. And then the role of Canadian polity and media has a role into it. Suspicion, exclusion, othering. Islam is misunderstood. Due to few people, the larger community is misunderstood. Right? So youth voiced concern for racism, stereotypical negative perceptions, right? This one concept, this reactive identity is also we find out, and it's already in the literature also. There were, when there would be an incident, for example, in Quebec there was some bomb blast or something, some like Muslims were killed, and those kind of incidents, Muslim youth will come together, even if they are not practicing Islam, even if they are not going to mosque, even if they are just by name Muslim, they will come together and they will present themselves. So there was a reactive identity was there in response to those incidents. Cultural context, those ethnic backgrounds and their ethnicity play a role, and they are giving those multiple identity and this imagined community in making in which they belong to their countries and ethnic backgrounds, but it's not as powerful. And gender, as I mentioned earlier, was another key piece. That Muslim men struggle to resist the trope of a Muslim man filled with rage, while women struggle to resist the trope of the oppressed Muslim woman. So Muslim men need to show to them that I am not angry, I am a nice guy, I am polite, I am positive. Again and again, he needs to show this because he is perceived angry. And on the other side, Muslim women need to show that I am strong, I am not oppressed, I am brave, right? So that's negotiations are continuously going on. This is one example where she says, I want to go to summer, going to Pakistan. The teacher says that, oh, you're going to be immediately married there. Those perceptions are there, right? Which are playing a role there. Okay, I'm trying to fast. So finally, I'll just say, finally, all these different multiple identities, these negotiations and these different constructs and the continuous negotiations and different values has an impact on the well-being and mental health of Muslim youth. That we find out, and this is one key piece in the analysis, that it does have an impact and there is something that needs to be done. At the same time, they were very Muslim youth, while having all that, they were having their future, they were looking into their future, their bright future. They say we have all the resources available, we have pathways available to go and flourish. The deep challenge and concern they were also facing, which become later on a major concern, their own community, their own mosque, their own community was a major concern because they were not in line with and they were not equipped with those knowledge and skills for Muslim youth to basically to help them intellectually and socially and spiritually. That was a major concern for them. Sorry. Okay, so thank you so much. It was kind of try to merge both presentation, and I will stop here. And I think we planned that questions would be at the end of all presentations. So then I will now invite Dr. Nadia to present.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Nadia SAMO. I'm basically from Pakistan and a government employee working as an assistant registrar at Mehran University of Engineering Technology. I'm very much thankful to my supervisor, Professor Dr. Oğuzhan, and his team for inviting me to present my paper. Okay, so the topic for my research was the role of women in economic development of society through entrepreneurship. Basically, it is a comparative study and it is a comparative analysis of rural and urban areas of province Ankara, Turkey. This is a slight briefing of the contents of my presentation. That consists of the introduction, literature review, proposed research methodology, data analysis, and at the end, discussions, conclusion, recommendations, limitations and future directions. Let's start from the introduction. There is no doubt that without participation of women in society, life will be incomplete in many aspects. They can be their competency at workplace, politics, domestic, social, cultural challenges. Access and control to credit is regarded as a women empowerment. Can you please move the slide? Sorry, actually it's not clear. It's not visible. Okay, thank you. So, where were we? Okay. Access and control to credit is regarded as a women empowerment. Women empowerment can be considered as chain of system that achieves its goal by showing its access and control over the physical resources. There is no doubt about the fact that all the developing countries around the world are facing acute shortage of funds, and it is alarming where they are facing issues of underemployment. Entrepreneurship is about people starting, running, grabbing opportunities and transforming chances into the desired ideas. The recognition of the role of women empowerment is considered to be essential to the overall economic development of any society. Therefore, entrepreneurship is regarded as the most important way in which women can improve their quality of life for reliable socio-economic development of society. During the research procedure, we must focus on the research problems. So here are a few research problems. Despite of increased ratio of working women with having extraordinary flexibility in childcare at home, still possess strong motivation to start a business. Similarly, very little attention is being paid towards exploring their motivation. To fill this gap, there is a dire need of exploring basic needs of women's role in economic development of our society. In developed countries, ratio of women entrepreneurship is high, which also represents why they are developed countries economically. There is need to conduct research in underdeveloped countries to analyze how women can contribute their role in economic development through entrepreneurship. Research objectives. To find out the aspirations of for women to become women entrepreneurs in both rural and urban areas of district Çankaya, Ankara. To analyze the difference between women entrepreneurs of rural and urban areas in district Çankaya, Ankara. Identify the challenges faced by women entrepreneurs in both rural and urban areas of district Çankaya. Okay, I adopted the quantitative research here. The approach was, the data source was the primary source of the data which I already collected before conducting the research, and the research instrument was, we had adopted a questionnaire for survey which was used to collect the information from audience. My targeted population was from the urban area, Mamak, it was entrepreneurs 101, and from Kislev, which is urban, is 100. Mamak was considered to be rural areas. Total population was 201. Data analysis. We use the SPSS software for data analysis, and techniques were used as a descriptive statistics and the smart PS, standard equation medium. Descriptive statistics. Now, number of the questionnaire that we distributed among rural and urban areas were 225. The questions that were returned were 201, and the response rate after analysis were 88.6%. And the demographic profile was their age, marital status, education, and their designations. Now, this is the demographic data of the women entrepreneurs in rural and urban areas of district Chankaya. We can see that the frequency of the rural area is that from 15 to 25 age in years was 14%, 26 to 35 was 10%, 36 to 45 years age of the rural entrepreneurs were 56%. And same if we look around from the right side, from the urban, you can see that the 10%, the ratio of the urban women entrepreneurs were with the age of 15 and 25 years, and 12% was having the age of 26 to 35 years old. 36 to 45%, 5 years old, the percentage ratio is 40%, and 38% is 46 and over. Similarly, if you see to the marital status, unmarried in rural areas were 14%, but unmarried in urban areas were 9%. Married ratio was 40%, and married ratio in urban areas was 71%. If you can see here the divorce ratio, I was very amused to see that in rural areas, a divorce ratio was 28%, whereas in urban areas, it was only 8%. The widow, 18%, and in urban areas, 12%. In perspective of the education, unlearned 0%, of course, and in urban areas, 48%. Primary education, in rural areas, there was 5%, and in urban areas, 48%. Secondary education, 10%, and in urban areas, 32%, and graduates, 37%, whereas in urban areas, there was no any graduates or the masters. Okay, now if you see rural community and urban, reasons for women to be entrepreneurs. We discussed the question about that why do you want to get yourself engaged in the activities of entrepreneurship. From rural, we said that the business activities, 45% of the ratio said that we want to generate our additional income. And 12% they said we want to gain the work experience. 25% ratio said that due to unemployment, we want to get engaged in the entrepreneurship. 7% to be in control, and social status maintenance 16%. In urban areas, we can say that family tradition is 19%, support to family is 21%, poverty is 45%, earn for living is 10%, for saving only 5%. Okay. Now here we see that entrepreneurship activities engaged by women in rural and urban areas. What kind of business they are interested in? Okay, general stores 32%, jewelry shop and boutique 21%, beauty nutrition shops 71%, tailoring is 12%, coffee shop and the restaurants are 8%. Okay, source of capital, how do they get the amount to get themselves engaged in the entrepreneurship is their personal savings were 26%. They get the family support to start their business is 45.8%. They get the friend support is 6% only, and the financial institute which provide them the loan to start their business is 24%. Now challenges which a woman is facing when she is getting engaged into entrepreneurship. Okay, now loan approval from the microfinance bank. They said that we are facing a lot of problems when we are going to apply for the loan application to get some loan to get the business. Gender discrimination. There is a bias, it is very visible that they face the discrimination. It can be the racism, it can be the religious, it can be any factor that you consider as the discrimination. Business or family interference conflict. Some of them want to empower as a woman and they face the problem and the challenges in the family conflict. Some of them, they want their share in the business. Like two brothers, they want to establish a business. The third one is not interested and there is a family clash. Lack of capital. Many of the challenges faced by our women is that they don't have capital to invest something, to start their business. Okay, now if you say to go through the rural areas, they have no education. They are not that much educated, so they face a lot of problems how to generate the income. No credit facilities. In rural areas, there were no any financial institutions which were offering them certain funds to start their business. Gender discrimination again, lack of saving, they don't have any extra income to save for themselves and to start their business, and lack of experience. They are not giving any kind of trainings in the rural areas how to start their business. Now suggestions for improving women entrepreneurs in urban and rural areas of district Chankaya. Suggestions are like urban facilities, credit facility service. They just want that there should be financial institutions should be established in their areas, which should be in their access. Gender equality. There should be number of the sessions in those financial institutions that they should not be biased. Entrepreneurship training. The rural area women, they are lacking in education and they don't have any skilled training given. So the government especially should start or launch such programs that they should provide them the trainings. Gender equality, again for the rural and urban it is same. Inclusive program and the grants. There should be, the government should also announce some inclusive, especially women grants, so that such kind of the programs can promote them to start their programs in the entrepreneurship. The conclusion. After the research of comparative analysis of women entrepreneurship in both rural and urban areas of district Ankara, it is concluded that women from both communities are contributing their training positive part in economy of our society in terms of family support, gaining experience, promoting women empowerment, and making a role model as a woman. The women entrepreneurs from urban communities have their level of confidence to develop their linkages with the stakeholders despite of facing countless challenges. Similarly, women entrepreneurs from rural areas also found courageous and observed brave to handle the situation within limited resources. Both women entrepreneurs from rural and urban require to be recognized with their work performance and present their work with skills. Urban women entrepreneurs provide services at salons, retail shops and boutiques, and rural women entrepreneurs work in the field, sell the crops and vegetables, fruits, rice and other agriculture items to the market. Now these are some suggestions. The study recommends the following recommendations after conclusion of the analysis. Government should take actions to improve quality service in urban areas for women entrepreneurs and establish financial institutions in the rural areas of city. Government should take initiatives to provide school facilities to ensure girls' quality education in rural areas by uplifting primary and secondary education. Strict actions must be taken against the officials who create problems for women entrepreneurs and discrimination women by misusing their official powers or authorities. Government should introduce financial assistance grant scheme to promote skilled women work in urban areas and encourage them to work in peaceful environment. Entrepreneurship training should be recognized for women in both rural and urban areas of province. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Nadia, such a thoughtful and detailed presentation. Now I will request Eski to present.
Hello everyone, herkese merhaba. Sunumu ben İngilizce yapacağım. İngilizce oturuma yazılmışız madem, İngilizce devam edeceğiz. Ancak özellikle sormak istediğiniz bir yer olursa lütfen durdurup Türkçe olarak da tanımını sorabilirsiniz ya da tekrar edebilirim Türkçe'yle. Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Ezgi Kennedy. I'm working with the UN as an individual consultant, and as well as being a part-time researcher and academician. Hem akademisyenlik yapıyorum hem de bir yandan BM kuruluşunda bağımsız danışman olarak görev yapıyorum. Şimdilik bu kadarı yeterli. Bugün sizlerle sürdürülebilir kalkınma, sosyal politika ve öneriler üzerine konuşacağız. Özellikle iklim değişikliğini tartışacağız. Ve şimdi ben tekrar İngilizceye dönmek istiyorum. Teşekkür ederim. Today's topic is sustainable development and social policy recommendations for climate change, especially combating the climate crisis. And as so the agenda is that first I'll briefly talk about introduction, what are the causes and impacts of climate change, and then we'll talk about sustainable development and climate change relations. After that, social policy recommendations regarding to climate change, and then finally we will conclude the presentation. Okay. First of all, when we talk about the introduction, climate change refers to main long-term shifts in the temperature and weather patterns. These shifts may be natural, such as through variations in the solar cycle, but also it can be human activities, especially burning fossil fuels, and coal, oil and gas, different type of energy sources. And burning fossil fuels are the main, one of the biggest causes of global climate crisis. Second one is deforestation, and then third one is industrial agriculture. Generating power is about the electricity, heat, and every single machine that we use at our houses. And mainly these houses are used burning fossil fuels, and these cause large amount of global emissions. Even the air conditioners use the products inside this type of fossil fuels. Powering buildings, globally residential and commercial buildings consume over half of all electricity, and this also causes main chunk of global emissions. Manufacturing goods. Manufacturing and industry produce emissions mostly from burning fossil fuels to produce energy, for making things like cement, iron, electronics, plastics, clothes, and other goods. Even if you imagine in every single of materials that we use are used by manufacturing goods has emission. And the manufacturing industry is one of the largest contributors to the green gas emissions worldwide. That's the main of the main problem. Producing food causes also another emission, carbon dioxide, methane, and other greenhouse gases in various ways. All this makes food production a major contributor to climate change. It's so innocent when we say, okay, it is food, we provide food, but even in the agriculture, when we use industrial systems to produce the food, then we will have also green gas emissions. Also about the packaging and distributing of the food, there is always carbon emissions. Using transportation, mostly cars, trucks, ships, planes run on fossil fuels, and that makes transportation a major contributor of greenhouse gases. Especially the carbon dioxide emissions are the biggest amount. Carbon dioxide concentrations in the atmosphere have increased by 50% since the Industrial Revolution, and we can say that this is the fact. Global warming is 1.5 Celsius degree higher by now. Also, the ice sheets in the Greenland and the Antarctic, they release methane when they melting. So this is also another side of the global climate crisis. And as you can see in this graphic, the poorest half of the population, world's population, 4 billion of people, produces only 10% of global emissions. While the richest 10% produces half of the global emissions, and 40% is middle income people and countries. Also, there are following 10 companies. They are releasing most carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. As you can see, China Coal, Saudi Aramco. Oh, sorry, I pressed some button wrong. Geri dönebilir misiniz? Lazeri basmaya çalıştım. Okay. China Coal, Saudi Aramco, Gazprom, National Iranian Oil, mainly the oil and coal industry has the biggest share of the carbon dioxide. And when we check the statistics, 100 companies were responsible for 21% of global emissions. This is huge. I mean, we should take action, right? So that's why I'm coming to this part. Top 10 countries who are releasing carbon dioxide is, as you can see in order, China. China has the biggest share. And then it comes United States, India, Russia, Japan, Iran, Germany, South Korea, Indonesia, and Saudi Arabia. So what are the impacts of global climate crisis? Climate change is already having major impacts on human health, livelihoods, and the rights of the human beings. Warmer temperatures, as we can all see and live in the earth, right? We can say that we always have these warmer temperatures over the years. As greenhouse gas concentrations rise, so does the global surface temperature is rising. Most severe storms, and we are facing many destructive storms and intense situations, natural disasters over the years, especially all are impacts of global crisis. Cyclones, hurricanes, typhoons feed on warm waters at the ocean surface. Such storms often destroy homes, communities, causing deaths and huge economic loss of people's lives. As you can see that it's in Pakistan. This is a real nice coincidence that my session is with two distinguished scholars from mainly Pakistan. So I wanted to bring the Pakistan floods. Climate-related natural disasters are hitting the low-income countries and also small island developing countries hard. And as we all witnessed this year in 2022, Pakistan had a big flood situation and millions of people affected by that. And also it caused death of 1,300 people. Also floods in Pakistan in 2010 was a hard one. 20 million people affected and 2,000 people died from these floods. Also, there are different examples I brought, but I don't want to bother you with all of them. Cyclone Pan was one of the biggest natural disasters during the time. It was in 2015. Also, Cyclone Winston in Fiji was another big disaster in 2016, causing more than 40,000 homes to be damaged, destroyed, and $1.4 billion damage. In 2007, also Hurricane Erika was one of the biggest natural disasters. Also, they all scientists discussed that they are mainly from impacts of global climate crisis. Also, Hurricane Maria, also in Mozambique, there are major cyclones. Many other disasters are. About warming, rising ocean. The ocean soaks up most of the heat from global warming. Okay, so I have a very short time left, so I'll just jump to my recommendations and policies. Not enough food, more health risks, poverty and displacement. These all are impacts of global warming. And also the global warming causes climate change affects human rights, especially right to health, right to access food, clean water and hygiene, healthy environment, and the right to self-determination, and also the right to development and culture. So, humanity needs to take responsibility to solve this problem, right? So, environmental problems due to climate change affects lives of all living things, not only the humanity, but also the animals also are affecting. There are many wildfires affecting the forest, deforestation is existing. So in 2015, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development was adopted, and then as you can see here, these were the main major agreements and agendas were adopted for global crisis, climate crisis. Sendai Framework, Addis Ababa Funding, 2030 Agenda, SDG Sustainable Development Goals, and Paris Climate Change Agreement. These were the main documents that we are depending on. So in summary, the basic philosophy of sustainable development is to evaluate the interaction of the economic and social structure and environment in a holistic way, and to ensure that present and future generations benefit from the opportunities brought by development in an equitable way. And we need to take action about sustainable development and global governance. And also the Paris Agreement is one of the historical turning points. It has adopted and approved by 195 countries in the United Nations Convention on Climate Change, and so the countries should, states especially, should adopt these agreements and obligations to protect human rights from environmental damage and fulfill their international commitments. And applying a rights-based approach clarifies the obligations of states and businesses. Also, we can say that providing the public with accessible, affordable, and understandable information on the causes and consequences of global climate crisis is fundamental. Ensuring an inclusive, equitable, and gender-based approach to public participation in all climate-related action is so important, and ensuring affordable and timely access to justice is important. Assess to the potential climate change and human rights impacts, and there should be some projections, plans, and policy proposals along with that. Also, enabling women to play leadership roles, as my colleague Dr. Nadia had evidenced by her research. And so that the gender equality is also integrating into the climate change action. And respect the rights of indigenous peoples in all climate action is really crucial. Providing strong protection for environment and human rights defenders also crucial. Also, there are responsibilities for business world. Businesses should adopt human rights policies, and they should have 5 main responsibilities regarding climate change: to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from their own operations and affiliates. As I guess you saw when you are coming to Karabük, Safranbolu, there are many factories, and they are releasing gray to black clouds and to the earth. And this I'm not sure, but we should be certain, 100% certain, that they are not releasing gas emissions and they are using filters. Not only their factories, but also their affiliates. And also their different services and products, and minimizing greenhouse gas emissions are so important. Also because by their suppliers, alt taşeron, alt yüklenici. And so also another important thing is that they should ensure that people affected by work-related human rights violation have access to effective solutions, because as we all know, there are many health issues. For example, Karabük is famous for coal mining, and the miners always have health risks, especially lung cancer and other health risks. So these businesses should take consideration of those prevention methods. There are only two last slides, I'm sorry. Green economy is another important action. International organizations such as UNEP and OECD define green growth and green economy as an understanding that prioritizes the investment and consumption of goods and services that contribute to environmental improvements, so that all the products of the green economy are green. I mean, not only the physical measurements, but also there are many other measurements should be considered. The Green Economy Plan, European Green Deal is important and determined by the European Union, aims at sustainable production and consumption, primarily the use of renewable and efficient energy. And this is also a very important framework for social policy planning process to increase the sustainable human welfare. So, to conclude, a safe climate is a vital element, as we all agree on that. And today's global climate crisis is an emergency, and so that we need bold action, urgent action on climate change. Paris Agreement and Sustainable Development Goals are the main pathways for a good social policy program. Multi-stakeholder collaborations are very important, and the inclusion of civic sector and business in global governance is underemphasized in most countries, and we should take this into consideration. And last but not least, we need more heroes. Yeah. For example, the Swedish teenager Greta Thunberg had inspired millions of children around the globe to join the school strikes, Fridays for Future strikes. And this action was for the climate action. So in her words, I want to conclude, I want you to behave like our house is on fire, because it is. So thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. You can also ask in Turkish as well. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Ski Kennedy. So now if there are any questions on our three presentations, I don't know how much time we have.
I'll translate for you.
I can totally understand. It's Friday evening.
Eğer sorunuz varsa ben çevirebilirim. Lütfen çekinmeden sorun.
Okay, so we will conclude the session. So thank you so much for listening, and I think there is, tomorrow is also a conference, right? Tomorrow, there is a conference day tomorrow. So I think we will begin tomorrow with some new exciting presentations. Thank you. Thank you.